The title of this screencast is What Can SharePoint Do for Me? And specifically we're going to be talking about SharePoint Server 2010. My name is John Ross. I'm a SharePoint Server MVP and also a senior consultant with SharePoint 911. So in this presentation, we're going to be starting from the very beginning. What is SharePoint? And as this slide says, SharePoint is a collaboration solution. It supports document management, collaboration for various different types of content across your organization, sharing information, enterprise search, and once you have content in SharePoint, reporting on that information and visualizing it in different ways through the business intelligent capabilities. SharePoint can also be used to improve standardized processes like with electronic forms or streamline business processes through workflow. A lot of people use different terms to refer to SharePoint, but at the heart of it, SharePoint is a platform for building collaboration solutions. So why would you use SharePoint? As I mentioned, you can use it to improve business processes and gain efficiencies, reduce costs because you're working smarter and not harder. And also it helps you to remove some of those bottlenecks. In many organizations, IT is, the entire organization relies on IT to be available and to do things in order to add content or make changes. SharePoint enables users to make changes themselves and not have to rely on IT. IT provides SharePoint and provides this tool that enables these users to do things, and they can go ahead and serve themselves. Through the search capabilities, SharePoint makes it easier to find information. Once it's created, you can use the powerful searching capabilities to find that information. And then from a compliance standpoint, SharePoint enables you to have to standardize your content so that you have a single version of forms and standard documents across the organization, but also to create a brand that is consistent and standard across all of your sites. And all of these things help businesses to optimize and run more efficiently and be more efficient in how they do their work every day. So as we start off talking about SharePoint 2010, we look at this graphic, which is referred to as the wheel, and you can see that the various areas of SharePoint are broken up into the 6 main pillars of how the product is. Each one of the features in SharePoint kind of falls into one of these different categories: composites, sites, communities, content, search, and insight. And throughout this presentation, we're going to be talking about what each one of these different pieces of the wheel mean. But altogether, they work together to help improve collaboration across your organization, allow you to work smarter and not harder, and therefore cutting costs and getting business efficiencies that help provide better information and make it easier to respond to business needs in your organization. So we're going to start off by talking about sites. What the first piece of the pie refers to the areas of sites in your SharePoint site, which is where the content is created, and it's where users are going to be spending most of their time. In SharePoint 2010, we have a brand new, rich user interface, otherwise more specifically referred to as the ribbon. Most of your users are going to be familiar with this idea from Office 2007, and the ribbon is pervasive across SharePoint 2010. It makes it easy to update and add content to your site. And in addition, there's also been some changes to make it easier to brand your sites and create that consistent look and feel so that matches your corporate branding standards. It's possible to access sites from anywhere. It's no longer just a Windows platform using Internet Explorer. There have been significant investments in SharePoint 2010 to make it easier to access SharePoint from multiple browsers, so whether you're using Firefox in your organization or Internet Explorer, it's now possible to access from across different browsers as well as from different platforms, such as using a mobile device. Cloud computing is also become a big deal, and SharePoint now has a new architecture that helps to support cloud computing. Whether you have SharePoint at your office, whether it's hosted somewhere else, or whether you want to take advantage of a service like SharePoint Online that allows you many different ways to access your content in SharePoint. And no matter how you're using SharePoint, whether it's for an intranet, an internet, or an extranet, SharePoint is a single platform for collaborating across different environments. There's also been changes to allow for increased standard support. SharePoint 2010 is now WCAG 2.0 compliant, so all of your users, whether they're as I said, whether they're using Internet Explorer or all the way accessing SharePoint on their mobile device, or even users that are using disability readers, can now take advantage of SharePoint 2010's capabilities. Here's a quick peek at the ribbon, or Fluent UI as it's more specifically referred to. But this is a way users will be accessing SharePoint, and we'll see the ribbon all over the place. And this allows users to have quick control to do the things that are the most common, and allow them to do many of the common tasks more efficiently and quickly. So what does all this new sites portion of the wheel mean? Well, SharePoint 2010 creates a new intuitive structure for content that has an appealing UI that can be easily tweaked, whether it's using the various capabilities of SharePoint, whether you're talking about creating a custom theme, which we'll talk about in just a second, or whether it's whether you're creating a very custom user interface with a custom master page. With the new standards compliance, it's easier than ever to create that consistent UI across your SharePoint implementation. And the new UI enables users to easily create and manage content through that interface that's familiar to them. They're using an interface that's similar to what they might be familiar with Office documents, and they can go in, quickly create that content, manage it, and do what they need to do to get their work done. So let's take a look at the new user experience in SharePoint 2010. I've opened up a team site in SharePoint 2010 to show off the new user interface. You'll notice that the team site looks a little bit different from what you might be familiar with from SharePoint 2007. I'm going to go ahead and put the page in edit mode by clicking on the edit button here in the upper left hand corner, and with one click I'm already into edit mode. And as you can see at the top of the page, I have here the ribbon, and I've got several different options. And if I go over and I click on this image, you'll see that I get a new tab up here that has controls specifically related to the image and things that I could do with the image. I can also go over here to the center of the page and highlight this text and make any sort of changes that I might want to. So I'm going to go ahead and change this heading, and I'll say SharePoint 2010 is here, and I've made this change. I can go ahead and make other changes by highlighting text, just like I would in any other Office document, or maybe in Outlook or something. If I highlight it, I can bold things. And all of these changes are made in a very familiar environment to that users will be comfortable with using the other Office products. I can also add web parts to the page pretty easily. However, adding web parts is a little bit different this time around because we don't necessarily need to have web part zones in order to add a web part. So to do that, I'm going to go up to the Insert button, and I'm going to click on the web part button in the ribbon. And I'm going to choose, just by default, it has the announcements web part selected, and I'm going to go ahead and click Add. And you'll notice that it added the web part zone, or it added the web part directly below the text, and there's no zone here. And to prove it, I can go ahead and you can see I have my cursor up here above the web part that I just added. I can also just put my cursor below the web part zone and type in some text. See, no web part zone, and I can add it. I can add this text there just like I would any other text, and I can go back. I can still bold it and make other changes like I could. So this gives users this integration for the team sites.